Welcome to the Rivers from the Altar podcast. I'm Robin Nagelvort.
And I'm Amy Johnson. We're here to talk about finding sufficiency in Jesus for the needs of your heart and the purposes He has for your life.
We're so glad you joined us today. Let's get started.
Today is the second in a 4-part series where we're talking specifically about marriage. And marriage is really just an arena in which you walk with Jesus Christ. That's the purpose of this podcast, is to talk about finding sufficiency in Jesus for the needs of our own hearts and the purposes He has for our lives. And marriage is an arena in which that happens. It's an active relationship in which we need to find the Lord Jesus every single day. So we're going to talk about some lessons that we've learned in marriage. I'm going to hand it over to Robin first. And the fun thing about this partnership is that we do come from 2 different age categories and seasons in life. So Robin has been married for 6 years,
Almost
right?
6 years.
Yeah, almost 6 years. And of course, I was married for 31 and a half before I became a widow. And the Lord is sufficient for all of those seasons and all of those ages. So I'm going to hand it over to Robin first to share with you things that the Lord has taught her.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to start out and just say that marriage is a beautiful gift that God can gift us with. And it's something that I've been super blessed by as a woman, and I'm very thankful to be able to be married to a wonderful husband. His name is Frank, and we got married 6 years ago, and it's been really wonderful being married to him. So I'm very grateful for that. And as I was thinking through this podcast topic today, just lessons that I learned through marriage, it led me into so many sweet memories over the years, just of things God has taught me from the perspective of learning to draw from the fountain of living waters and learning to get everything I need from Him. Because even if you have a super wonderful husband like I do, he's still human. And so you can't rely on him for giving you life, like giving you everything you need. And so that's kind of one of the first lessons I was going to talk about today, is do not rely on your husband to lead you spiritually. And that it sounds very red flaggy at first. So if red flags are going off when you hear me say that, I'll just explain myself here. So when I say don't rely on your husband to lead you spiritually, I don't mean don't follow him, don't respect him, don't if he takes the lead, don't resist him. I'm saying that your husband cannot be responsible for your individual walk with Jesus. He can't determine whether you're going to set your heart to worship God. He can't choose for you to soak your soul in the Word of God. He can't make you pray. You're the one who gets to choose to follow Jesus today. And so from my understanding, God's not going to look at you on Judgment Day and say, well, why didn't your husband make you follow me?
Good point.
He's going to have us individually give an account for how we spent the life He gave us. So it's our responsibility and our privilege to choose to abide in Jesus, whether our husbands are in a flourishing season or in a dry one, whether your husband is having a hard day or a good one. And when he is having a hard day, does he benefit from a wife who's going to be so needy from her husband that all she does is sap the life out of him? Or does he benefit from a wife who's already going to the Lord to get what she needs? I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to count on your husband when you're going through a hard time yourself, but God, He does give us each other to help bear one another's burdens. But one of the best ways you can be a helper to your husband is to seek the Lord yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think of the fact that Jesus is the rock, Jesus is our security, Jesus is our stability, and that never changes. So,
Mhm.
yes, if your husband's having a difficult time or a hard season, you don't have to be um, changed by that. You
Mhm.
can stay steady in the Lord and be a helpmate in that sense, a lover and encouragement through that season.
Mhm.
So, that's very good. The Lord
Yeah.
is our stability.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it makes me think of when I was pregnant with our daughter Serenity. The Lord gave me a lesson that I is just it's stuck with me ever since. I mean, it's only been 3 years, but I don't think it's ever going to leave me. Both me and Frank were in a pretty tough season, and uh, I think for the first couple years of our marriage, I sort of expected Frank to take the lead and kind of determine for us when we're supposed to worship, when we're supposed to read our Bibles or go to church or whatever. And I'm not saying he didn't do that, but for me, figuring out early marriage, I had this unspoken thought that, oh, because we're one, we do everything the same and go through everything the same way,
Mhm.
which is obviously not true. But um, I just didn't really take the initiative apart from Frank to go and have my own time with the Lord. And um, Frank is a wonderful and loving and caring husband who's very good and gentle with me and loves me very well. But if you can believe it, there's actually a downside to that because sometimes I forget he's human and can't do everything for me. So, honestly, in this dry season, I was trying to get what I needed from Frank. And when he himself didn't have the capacity to give me what I needed. And so I was hungry and dry. And finally, the Lord showed me I was just thinking about it wrong. And he showed me I needed to come to Jesus because he's the fountain of living waters.
Amen.
And I realized I was trying to get joy and peace in life from my marriage and other circumstances and not from God himself. So the Lord did something really amazing. And I still look back at this as a huge point of change that directly impacts my walk with the Lord now. But when I was pregnant with Serenity, God gave me pregnancy insomnia. And I don't know exactly what was physically going on, but every single night, probably starting somewhere in second trimester, I would wake up every single night and not be able to go back to sleep for like 2 or 3 hours. And I'm so thankful the Lord showed me that he wanted me to use this to my advantage instead of just being like laying there frustrated that I couldn't go to sleep, to actually take this time and spend time with him. And I was sort of in a desperate place because we had a lot of circumstances that we were trying to work through. And our daughter, Radiance, was a toddler at the time. So
It keeps you busy.
so it was one of the most physically exhausting times in my life, but also one of the best gifts that God has given me in my walk with him, because every single night when that pregnancy insomnia hit, I would get up and go to another room and light a candle and spend 2 or 3 hours every night worshiping and praying and just spending time in the presence of God. And it restored my soul in a way that nothing else could. And it revived me and brought me back to a place of enjoying God personally and seeking him myself. Now, not everyone has that happen, but God knew it was exactly what I needed in that season to bring me out of reliance on a very good husband and onto the very best one I could ever know. And so that lesson is one that will definitely stand out to me for for a long time. Like, I need to walk with Jesus personally and seek him individually and not just put all my weight on my husband, even though he is an amazing spiritual leader and he is an awesome husband. But the Lord is the one in marriage that meets our needs, not our husbands.
And Robin, I think that brings up a general point that applies all throughout our lives, not just in marriage. And that is when you encounter something in your life that is a challenge or that is a difficulty, such as insomnia, but it could be anything. The very point of difficulty is the point in which God is drawing us to seek him in a new way. The challenges, the sufferings, the troubles, if we can see in those things always God who invites us to know him deeper, and he wants to make those things a platform on which he reveals himself to us personally and makes his glory known through our lives, that puts a whole different perspective on trouble.
Yeah.
And, marriage, as we said, is just an arena in which to walk with Jesus. And if you're walking through a difficulty in your marriage, that it also can be a call from God to seek his face. If we can see all of God, all of life as from God for him and his call, it's a beautiful thing to be able to see. So I'm glad you shared that, and it brought out that point. Another thing that comes to mind as I listen to you speak is that you're talking about meeting God in the midst of a beautiful, good marriage. And I've seen this from both sides in life, from different people's stories. I also had a good marriage, and there were things God had to teach me through that beautiful marriage of himself. I've known people who've had difficult, hard marriages, some very hard, but I've seen the Lord meet them too, no matter which one you have.
Speaking of good marriages, we have a lot of I guess information that we have access to. We'll do another podcast episode on what book we should follow.
There you go.
To model our marriage and to have a marriage that is pleasing to the Lord, because it's not going to look the same for every person. Every personality is different, and the two personalities of the husband and wife that come together in a marriage are going to make the dynamic of your marriage very different from couple to couple. But I was going to say, we have a lot of voices in our day on what a good marriage should look like and what it looks like to be a good wife. And for me, in my circle and in my generation of women, what it looks like to be a good wife on social media is actually very intense. And what you get from social media is just a lot of ideas and a lot of opinions and a lot of videos and a lot of things showing what people think it means to be a good wife. And the amount of pressure on wives these days by what is presented on social media is actually pretty overwhelming if you're comparing yourself to other people and if you're used to doing that. Because today, to be a good mom in some circles, you have to wear organic cotton dresses and breastfeed your babies for 3 years while having 3 under 3, homeschool your kids, mill your own flour, make homemade sourdough bread, and make everything from scratch, and eat completely organic and pasture raised and grass fed, and take all the supplements, and work out and take your kids on a bunch of play dates with your mom groups, and have a homestead and make all your skincare products and drink matcha and cloth diaper your babies.
I'm exhausted.
Oh, make sure your house is super aesthetically pleasing with no synthetic fibers or plastics or anything like that. And the amount of pressure on some women these days simply by what they take in on social media is to do things and be something that God doesn't explicitly require in his word. It's just overwhelming. And so no wonder we feel like we can't keep up, and no wonder we feel like we get stuck comparing our lives to other people, and either pridefully like, oh, I'm doing so much better than them, or despairingly like, oh, I can never get to this standard. Yeah, no wonder we're worried about how our marriage is doing when we see other couples on social media with everything perfectly put together and beautiful, and they're hugging, and there's the sunset behind them, and
because everybody's a photographer these days,
too,
right?
Exactly. And I'm not saying all social media relationships are purposely like trying to deceive us, but I'm sure they don't always share the entire picture. And yes, they can be inspiring. Yes, there can be videos that are encouraging and that do speak truth. And so I don't want to negate those. But if it's leaving you in a place of comparison all the time, where you're wishing that your life was different and wishing you had a marriage or a relationship like the ones you see on social media, it's not actually going to help your marriage. Because what does God require of you as a wife? His requirement of you, the one thing you need, is to sit at the feet of Jesus and to listen to his voice and to follow him and to abide in him. That's what his requirement is of you as a wife. If you don't have your house perfectly clean at the end of the day, I mean, right now my house is not exactly as I want it to be, but
it looks better than mine.
See, comparison.
Oh, sorry.
But like if your kids are having a hard day and then your husband comes home from a hard day of work and you're in your third trimester and you're super tired at the end of the day and all you want to do is cry because you're just you just feel so tired, and not speaking from experience or anything. I'm just kidding. I am in my third trimester, about to have a baby in a couple weeks. So, but what I'm saying is, if everything is not super put together and picture perfect like what we see on social media, it's okay. God doesn't require you to have everything perfect and looking great, and in fact, he wants to meet you in the places where you are overwhelmed, where you do need help. He wants to meet you exactly where you are. And where you are is probably not what it looks like most people are on social media. And so I just wanted to encourage you that I hope that brings you some relief as a wife today. I know it did for me when I shut off social media and started asking God what he wanted specifically for me as a wife. And it helped my marriage significantly because I wasn't comparing my marriage to other people.
There you go. It's interesting you bring up social media. It is a big thing these days. When I was a young wife and early stages of motherhood, we really didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
There were lots of books you could read, and I will confess I've never been one to go buy every book and read every book on how to do something because life is too busy and I'm a little too overwhelmed for that. But I do remember early on reading a book by someone who was a sweet Christian woman, and as you were talking, it reminded me exactly of this season of time in my own life, because this book I read was asking us to do the very things that you were talking about. It had to do with feeding your family well. It had to do with keeping your house tidy and loving your husband well, and how that should look according to what they thought it should look like. And they were good suggestions, but I was getting a little overwhelmed and almost felt like I had the author of that book sitting on my shoulder analyzing everything I was doing. And then the Lord brought me to the passage in Micah 6. It says, "With what shall I come before the Lord? Or bow myself before the Lord Most High? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings? Shall I come before him with yearling calves? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams or 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give him my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? Now, he has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God?" That passage of scripture helped me so much because I realized I could change up the words and say, "With what shall I come before the Lord, or bow myself before the Lord Most High? Shall I come before him with a perfectly tidy house? Shall I come before him with a perfect attitude all the time? With joyful, well-behaved, neat, tidy, well-fed children all the time, organic this or whatever?" No, God has shown you what is good. What is he required of you? But to do justice, to love kindness. And kindness is a big deal in the home.
Yeah.
Even in Proverbs 31, it says the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. And to walk humbly with your God. Ultimately, what are we here to do? Walk humbly with your God.
Yeah.
So I totally resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that we're saying we don't want to steward well the things that God has given us. He's given us so many good gifts. If you have a husband, that's an amazing thing. If you have children, that's an amazing thing. Um, if you have a home that is beautiful, that's an amazing thing. But his first requirement of you is to know him and to seek him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you're saying, seek justice, to love kindness, to walk humbly with your God. And if all you get done in the day is spend time with Jesus, it's okay.
And that's an easy thing to say, but sometimes we really have to rein our minds in. And I've had to rein my mind in before to that very thing. I sought the Lord today. I sat at his feet. And like you said, it doesn't mean that the other things don't matter. But when the root of a tree is good, the fruit of it is going to be good. So that heart level walking with God will flow out into what we do in those other areas of our lives. But we got to attend to the root.
Yeah, absolutely. So my encouragement to you today is to go and delete all your social media and get off grid and live a completely screen-free life.
I don't think that's what you said, though.
No, I'm just kidding. So, no, the point is not to not be on social media and to not ever see things or hear things, but it is to set your heart in the right perspective and set it to the right standard, because his standard is way better than anything you could ever try to attain. And it's actually attainable. Like when God says that the one thing needful and that cannot be taken away from us is to have him as our portion, and to go to him and sit at his feet and listen to his voice. That is something that we can actually accomplish. You don't have to be overwhelmed by all the things you're not doing or all the things you should be doing, because his desire for you is to walk with him. And so as you seek him and follow him and then listen to his voice, he will lead you into the things that you should be doing, that he wants you to do. They might not look like every mom on Instagram or every wife on Instagram. They're gonna probably look very different and very personalized to you, but that's the amazing thing about having a shepherd who guides you and leads you personally. So,
and one more point here, as we're bringing this back down to the idea of marriage, because I know we're talking a lot about motherhood too, because that's very closely linked, home life, is the word satisfaction. Because when you find your satisfaction in the Lord Jesus Christ, because you're cultivating this relationship that we're talking about, when your heart is satisfied, then you're free. You're free from putting on your husband the weight of expectation, as if you're expecting him to satisfy the deepest places of your hearts. And no human being can do that. Yeah. When your own heart is satisfied, you're free to love and serve and give without being so anxious about what you're going to receive in return. Of course, love wants a love of its kind, of course. Yeah. But what if he's having a bad day? Or what if he doesn't have the capacity to give you that? Will you still have a satisfied heart? And having a satisfied heart in marriage is a very important thing. Yeah. So I wanted to share that.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up today's episode, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at riversfromthealtar or by email at riversfromthealtar@gmail.com.
Have a wonderful day and see you next time.